Well, that was a strange beginning. I hit go live and it just circled and circled and circled. But I think we're live now, Mike.
So if we're live now, being a TV guy the way you are, when we go off, are we dead? Is that the expression?
No, so no,
Okay.
that's not how that works. But I do think you should know what. Do you know what dead air is?
No, what's that?
You know, um, I was going to use that joke when you responded,
Hmm.
and you sort of took that from me, and I think I'm a little angry with you over that.
We'll work it out later.
Hmm hmm
Mhm.
So, your favorite thing is coming up.
Uh,
Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It's the
no,
only month where we're aware of cybersecurity. Are you excited?
I'm aware of the excitement. I don't share it yet. I think the thing I'm excited about is we're actually going to do a live show on September 18th, theoretically, and it's not you and me. The band's going to play, which
Oh,
is why I can hardly lift my arm right now.
uh-huh.
Band practice was last night, and when you're 61, playing this fast is a little rough on your body. Turns out.
If you give away your age on social media, people will break into your accounts, right? Isn't that how that works?
Uh, it's since my SF-86 form, social security number, driver's license number, and all my credit card information is already possessed by people all over the world. Do I really care about that?
I don't know, but let's go back to security awareness training.
Okay.
Sorry, let's go back. Well, yeah, there you go. Let's go back to Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So we are going to start doing security awareness training every week. And we have some other stuff planned to help organizations because hey, why let a good month go to waste? Also, last week we talked about the healthcare breach report, and it's gotten a ton of downloads. If you don't have it, go ahead and email me, Jake at criticalinsight.com, and I'll shoot you over a copy. And if you haven't put your entire organization in, uh, if you haven't put your entire organization through the free security awareness training, you should. It's
It's a
really
good
good.
idea.
It's a good idea, and all that good stuff. Mike, what else is going on? There was something else you wanted to talk about.
Well, we did that.
Pisces, right?
Yeah, we did that podcast on Pisces, which I thought was really good, right? Pisces, public infrastructure, security, cyber education system, right? We do free monitoring for local governments and use the data we collect as live fire curriculum for a bunch of universities.
Yeah.
Maybe you can if you have the link to that, maybe you can throw that in chat because I think it's pretty good. Had I known it was also going to be video, I thought it was going to be audio only. I would have worn a different shirt because I'm wearing a t-shirt that says, it's a picture of a drum set that says the tempo is whatever I say it is. That's probably not as appropriate as I would have wanted, but that's where we are. Anyway, the show is called Breaking into Cybersecurity, which is kind of an interesting choice of words, but it was a really well done interview. And my co-podcaster was Champagne Ryder, who went through the Pisces analyst training at Central Washington University and then was hired here. And I have to say, he did a better job representing both Pisces and the company than I did.
I
It
mean,
was
that's
great.
not.
He was good.
He was really good. Not so hard to do. I mean, better than. But yeah, but he was great. He was really great.
Yeah. I'm
And
going to ignore that.
when he was talking about how Pisces, gave him the opportunity to see real security events in real time, that drove home, our mission, Pisces mission, and then that thing where he talked about how as a student that gave him confidence
Mm-hmm.
in his analysis skills. For the number of students I talk to looking for jobs, getting into the workforce, no matter what they're doing, whether they're getting into cybersecurity or PR or journalism or whatever they're doing after college, talking about that confidence building, like that's everything. So anyway, hey Mike, right before Labor Day weekend, you said there was going to be a big attack on Labor Day weekend.
I didn't say there would be. I said the pattern has emerged of weekends being very active. Okay. So true, that didn't happen. But it's also true that the ransomware operators came roaring back as soon as the burgers were off the grill. And that includes the reemergence of the R Evil gang. Their infrastructure is back. Their blog is back up. And that's probably a mistake. because, they didn't lay low for very long, not even a few months, after they did the Colonial Pipeline thing and we came after them. They have to know that law enforcement is still really interested in nabbing them, and that's global law enforcement. So, okay, guys, you probably should have come back as something else, but all right.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I saw, and I think this happened after Labor Day, was Howard University in my hometown was hit by ransomware, right?
Yep. And they had to cancel classes, and they're in an unknown state of recovery right now. Also, Dallas School District had a major records breach. It didn't look like it was a ransomware extortion, but they had a major records breach. And remember last week we talked about the $6 billion worth of cybering that the academic sector took in 2020. This is probably a harbinger of more to come.
And so big targets, local government, hospitals, manufacturing, now schools close to the top of the list. I mean, great.
Mm-hmm.
And right now the hospitals are dealing with, enormous numbers of COVID patients. As you know, I was in Pocatello, Idaho for a conference, and now, those hospitals are in a state of emergency because all of their beds are full. In that whole, and basically in all of Idaho now.
Don't break a leg.
And then at schools, I don't know if you saw, schools have had to close because of parent protests over masks. So they're dealing with the COVID cases in schools and protests that are making them close.
Yes. All right. So since you went the COVID way, that provides a bit of a segue into talking about China. The competition between U.S. and China is really, really heating up, and there are alliances being drawn up that are going to challenge the U.S. as the source of stability in the world. But China is really emerging as front and center of all of this, right? In our last election, it was Russia, Russia, Russia. It's becoming China, China, China right now.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the articles I read in the Blast, which you put out every day, and if you haven't signed up for it, you should sign up for Mike's Daily Blast. You can do it on our website. One of the articles you put in there is about how China's been, running a disinformation operation to exploit divisions in the U.S. over the virus. Like, I thought that was a Russian thing to do.
Well, it is, but I guess they just took a page out of that playbook. So this. China disinformation op is a global thing now that's operating in apparently 7 languages on something like 30 social media platforms and 40 other websites, along with COVID disinformation, which is easy to make effective because of the gullibility and confirmation bias of about 30% of the US population that we've talked about. They're really involved in discrediting democracy, big D democracy. Every time they can leverage a policy failure or the fact that, wealth is concentrated into the hands of a few, they do. And it seems to be working.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that's a miscalculation. I mean, what they're doing is agitating movements that, will lead towards authoritarianism. Why do I say words I can't just say? It's too early, Mike. I need more coffee for the LinkedIn Live.
Should we do this at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? No, then we're digesting lunch. It's even worse.
And and that is the opposite of communism, which is what China's pushing.
Mm-hmm.
But what's that thing on investment on certain Chinese companies? There was a Biden executive order, right?
There was. That's an expansion of the list of companies that you can't do business with, including investing in them. So the Biden EO brought that list to 59. I forget what it started at, but one of the main concerns is surveillance capabilities built into technologies. And like we talked about last week, China seems to be collecting as much information as possible on U.S. persons. So one thing on that. It seems to me that in order to process that much information, location, buying habits, facial recognition, your associations, your networks, one would have to have an immense computing capability. And that's what I meant last week when I said we may have to drone a data center. If it can be demonstrated that China possesses all this information and is indeed working it all up, we might think about disrupting that process in some way.
The aim of drones has been certainly called into question in Afghanistan.
It has.
Could the U.S. ransomware them and blame Russia for it?
Did you just suggest a false flag op? That's actually a legit proposal. I think that should be considered. Yeah,
no.
something.
I mean, it's just frustrating. It seems like everybody's doing everything to us, and I don't know, just frustrating.
Yeah.
But here we are coming up on the anniversary of 9/11. Didn't the 9/11 Commission members say what's been going on in cybersecurity in the U.S. has us just as vulnerable as we were to terrorist attack 20 years ago? It's just a different kind of attack.
Yeah. And that's not a bad comparison. That's not just China. That's a lot of people all over the world, some of whom are being fed that disinformation about democracy that wish us harm and can do so over the global network. Think of something like taking down the financial system by hitting a few key banks, or performing financial fraud at scale, put everyone's finances into question. Maybe architected by China and performed by a cutout to keep their fingerprints off of it. In today's world. I mean, going back to the 9/11 reference and, our failure of imagination that got us ended up there. I mean, that is not an implausible scenario at this point, knowing what they have on us.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and in the chat, Brett brings up, are we sure there wasn't a big attack over the weekend?
Well,
I mean, there could be something we don't know about yet, but
there's no big attack that's in the news.
Right. I mean, usually the ransomware operators like to make sure everybody knows because that's part of their thing, but maybe we'll find out, right?
Maybe.
And maybe the dwell time is, I mean, if it was ransomware, it'd be locked up. Maybe they're in a system they got in over Labor Day, and then we'll find out here in a little bit. But anyway, hey, we should get to vulnerabilities. What's going on?
So a few I can think of. I mean, one is day of the week ending in Y. Microsoft warns of malicious Office files being used in attacks. Okay, that's not really new information. Some new data indicate that when an asset on the network is compromised, the speed with which someone gets interactive access and begins to pivot around the network is down to about half an hour. Okay, making it that much more important that you're monitoring your network and have good method for handling detected incidents very quickly. Emphasis on quickly, fast. What else? 500,000 sets of credentials to Fortinet VPN appliances were dumped this week. That vulnerability is patched, but the credentials, might still work unless you've done wholesale, password changes. But the big one this week, and this one is super interesting because there's going to be some carnage around this, is the Microsoft problem. And this one was with Outlook. If you set up a lookalike domain using a Cyrillic I in place of a lowercase I, it looks identical. Okay, so you can spoof, someone that's internal to your organization. And when Outlook reads that sender address, it's fooled as well and will display the photo of the actual person inside the organization, lending it that much more credibility. This is really dangerous.
Ooh.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I mean, that seems like the perfect recipe for spiking business email compromise. Is it under active exploit or is it Mike's?
Well, I haven't been able to confirm it's under active exploit. But my guess is yes, because it sounds like it's real easy to do. While I'm on Microsoft, I want to reference one other piece. Microsoft says they're going to increase their investment in cybersecurity to $20 billion. I think it's over the next 5 years. So what's interesting about that is that some of that is earmarked to help state and local governments that are sorely underfunded and essentially unprotected. And some of the wording in that piece confirms what we all know. There are not enough qualified practitioners to go around, and state and local governments have super poor access to the ones that do exist. So So everybody in these organizations buys technologies to help with security, and many of those technologies are never even deployed, and the ones that aren't being managed well.
I mean, isn't that why you started this company? And I mean, how's Microsoft going to address the people problem? Internships, apprentice programs, like we talked about Pisces earlier. What's they're going to do? What are they going to do?
I don't know, but this is worth watching. Your city's ability to provide clean water is far more important than your credit card, and if Microsoft can help move that needle, is good for all of us. Apprenticeships, internships, maybe they'll even provide some free professional services to help people get technologies deployed. I don't know, but $20 billion is a big number.
And nice thing, a good friend of mine, former colleague, has just joined Microsoft Security, and the stuff I see from him is pretty promising. I mean, I think they're doing some good work over there.
I think they are too. Yeah.
Okay. So at the end of all of these is a kicker. That's the story at the end of the newscast where you make people smile. You never do it. Can you today?
I don't try that hard to do it. But I will say that our good friends at the McDonald's Corporation are in the news for the wrong reason. So the Monopoly themed contests that they run, right? So they were doing this in the UK, and you buy their products and you enter codes on the packaging into a website, and you'd be contacted by email if you won something. Okay, nominally a subscription to a streaming service. Unfortunately, when they sent those messages to the winners, they contained code strings that identified a production Azure database and included the administrative credentials for it. Worse, it took forever to get someone's attention at McDonald's to do something about it. So,
yeah. Hey,
should I have made a joke about like Big Macs and Monopoly? Would that have made it funnier?
No, but it made me think about the McFlurry machines and how they're not working. And there's a website to tell you which works, and that there's now an FTC. Anyway,
if the Federal Trade Commission is sniffing around your McFlurry machines, man, you got a problem.
Mike, it's been a long time since I've been to a McDonald's. Do you know why?
Me too.
The only reason that I really like going to McDonald's is the play place so my kids can run around.
Is that right? Now they're too big.
No, there's a pandemic. Like, I can't think putting my kids in a play place in a McDonald's. I don't know if you must have forgotten there's a pandemic, Mike. Did you know that?
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as I sit alone in this building much of the time, I'm well aware of that. Also, what's a McFlurry?
You're gonna have to go to a McDonald's today, and if the McFlurry machine is working, order it, and then we all want to know what you think of the McFlurry. Hey, back to cyber news for a second. April puts in the chat here, half an hour turnaround from a single client attack to active intrusion. Talk about an amazing SLA for crime as a service.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, half-hour turnaround is crazy, but I mean.
Well, look at the difference between that turnaround time, right? That time it takes for interactive access and somebody to be pivoting in your network versus the average dwell time that, people report, which is coming down, right? It's down, I think, under 100 days now, but 30 minutes versus 100 days is a big disconnect.
Just a little bit. You know how to fix it?
Yeah, monitor your network with managed detection and response.
All right, yeah. No, yeah. All right. Yes, absolutely. Do that. Also, don't forget to sign up for Mike's Blast. Don't forget to email me, jake@criticalinsight.com, if you need invites to the security awareness training. If you want to know more about our plans, I'll give you a sneak peek. If you need the healthcare breach report, and if you want to tell dad jokes. All right, everybody, have a good one.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.